What's going on, guys? My name's James, and today I'm going to be discussing one of my decks I like to enjoy playing in Modern, and that is Boros Prowess. I really enjoy the interactions with the Prowess creatures and damage spells, along with some cheap, effective pump spells. I also like the back and forth mentality of the deck. So with that little tidbit out of the way, let's go ahead and start discussing creatures. Good old Swifty Wifty, or Monastery Swiftspear. 1 red mana for a 1/2 with haste and obviously prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Short, sweet, to the point, and can easily start getting in for beats. It's just cheap, effective, and awesome. The next creature is Soulscar Mage. Again, red for a 1/2 with prowess. So that ability is really good at pinging down pesky blockers. There are a couple other creatures that I run that aren't necessarily stock in certain lists. This one is synonymous with my last video I did, Blister Coil Weird. Now, I really am big on Blister Coil Weird, especially with the untap ability. If it's not your turn and your opponent's coming in for some damage, you can easily cast, say, either a Lightning Bolt, or Path to Exile, or even a Mutagenic Growth or a Gut Shot, just to be able to A, pump it up, and B, untap it to be able to get yourself a blocker. And this is good in multiples. The other creature that I'm trying, but we'll see if it sticks around or not, it's currently a 2 of, Clever Lumimancer. Now, being the lone white creature in the deck in regards to the main board strategy, I can easily cut it out to get more density of spells, to handle pesky threats, to hose over my opponent, whether it's taking Clever Lumimancer out for, say, like Blood Moon or Magus of the Moon, or putting in a Rest in Peace or Wear Tear. I can easily make this one of the first cuts, just because, say, if I do bring in Blood Moon or Magus of the Moon, I shut off my white mana. So it will be one of the first things I get rid of, but it is still a very solid creature in its own right, especially the +2/+2. Now, some people might run other stuff, such as Abbot of Carol Keep. This definitely is a strong 2-drop in the deck. The Exile ability can definitely help, but the 2 mana part I think is key, especially if you are in a matchup where your opponent runs Chalice of the Void. I think that really helps. Now, granted, these are very, very minor case scenarios, but your local meta may be dependent on that. And there's other 2-drop prowess stuffs, but I figured keep the mana density low and just see how things are. Monastery, Blister Coil, Soulscar Mage, those are 4 ofs. Lumimancer's 2 of. And just gotta see how things go from there. Next, and certainly the most dense part of the video, will be the spells. So first up will obviously be a classic. Wait, let me get this art out of the way, even though it is very, very pretty, so people can actually read it. Lightning Bolt. Just good old 1 mana, deal 3 to either creature or player. Cannot go wrong with it. Next, I run 2 Gut Shot. Now, Gut Shot and Mutagenic Growth can both go in the deck. I prefer running Gut Shot just to have the value density higher, especially in the regards of dealing damage to creatures, The pump abilities are nice though, so you can play around with numbers and see how things go. I just like Gut Shot just to be able to say, hey, here's more damage. So it's a 1 mana, and by that I mean it's Phyrexian mana, so it's either pay with a red or pay with 2 life. Deal 1 damage to target creature or player. It doesn't necessarily sound relevant, but back to my point earlier, if you say, have this opening hand with Monastery Swiftspear and lands and such, say, Mountain, Swiftspear, go to attacks, before damage, Gut Shot, easily bring in 2 more damage, and basically you just bolted them on turn 1 by playing a creature in this. Next is Lava Dart, another solid 1 mana instant, and praise Modern Horizons 1 for bringing it into the format. Deals 1 damage to any target, and flash it back by sacrificing a mountain. Again, something else that you can really utilize the value out of, especially late game. If the game gets drawn out, say by like a control player or anything like that. If you have like 2 or 3 of these in the yard and you have yet to use the flashback, if you need to push extra damage through and you have a crap ton of mountains, just go for it. Next up is Skewer the Critics. You're basically getting another lightning bolt. That's basically all I can say. It just happens to cost 3. Next up is... Excuse me, phone. Next up is Lava Spike. It's basically a slightly worse version of Lightning Bolt, but still very effective. Next up is Manamorphose. Both the adding of mana and the draw are both really key, especially since it allows you to keep churning and cycling through your deck. Say if you just keep getting lands off the top or anything like that and you're looking for stuff, go nuts. Speaking of which, Crash Through. Again, card draw, fantastic. I personally really also like the trample ability of it because it affects all of your creatures. So if you really need a big swing, there you go. Another card that I am running in my list, but people may vary on theirs, is Titan's Strength. Getting the prowess triggers on one creature on top of this is fantastic. Getting this on one creature and triggering prowess on all of your stuff is fantastic. And the Scry is also a very nice benefit as well, especially if you look and say, oh, it's a land, just put it down on the bottom. Alright, now that we got the spells out of the way, land base. Mine is fairly straightforward, all things considered. I run 4 Arid Mesa, 4 Sacred Foundry, 2 of Inspiring Vantage, 2 Sunbaked Canyon, and 8 Mountains. If you really want to go budget, just cut the Clever Lumamancer, add, say, Abbot of Carol Keep, Heartfire Immolator, or any other prowess creature, and just go crazy with all your mountains. Next up is the sideboard. Again, this is both meta-dependent as well as personal choice. My sideboard is consisting of 2 Dragon's Claw. Obviously, that ain't a May ability. That is going to be a I'm gaining 1 life. Especially good in multiples, and especially good if you're running against either Burn, Prowess, Murktide, anything that runs red. I run 2 Rest in Peace. Purely hoses Reanimator abilities or anything that plays with its food in the graveyard. Next up is Core Firewalker. Basically Dragon's Claw on a body. Need I say more? Now this might be personal preference or a controversial take depending on how you see it, but again, this is meta dependent. I'm running 3 Blood Moon. I know there are a lot of cases to run Magus of the Moon over this, especially with enchantment hate, but that's currently what I'm running right now. But again, Magus of the Moon and this, you can pretty much interchange it. Next up is Grafdigger's Cage. I probably should cut this and run something else instead of it because of having Rest in Peace in here. But we'll see. If Dredge is running rampant in your meta, perfect to run both. Especially because one's cheaper than the other in regards to mana cost. Next up is 2 Wear Tear. Good old Fuse. Wear is 1 and a red for an instant, destroy target artifact. Tear is 1 white for an instant, destroy target enchantment. Short, sweet, to the point, and can't really complain about it. And lastly, I have 2 Abrade in my sideboard. Now, with the prevalence of artifacts coming back, it can be good to have it around, especially if you don't draw into Wear Tear. But it could also just be a little overboard too, but again, other options. So as I had mentioned earlier, there can be a lot of variance and a lot of personal choices that you run for your deck. Another sideboard option is Path to Exile. You could also run Eidolon of the Great Revel. You could also run Bedlam Reveler if you really want to. That is my deck tech for the day. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did like the video, like, share, comment, and subscribe. It really means a lot. If you have any critiques or criticisms, please let me know in the comments below. See ya!